Hey guys, Joey's back here again. During this lockdown period of this corona fraud, we're gonna kick their asses. Just be patient. Don't forget to light a candle in this sometimes dark world, like I said before. Show the light, shine the light. Sometimes we don't need to curse the darkness. Sometimes we do, but sometimes we can just shine the light. And sometimes that works enough. Sometimes. Maybe most of the time. Light a candle. Show the light. Do something positive. Don't forget that sometimes fighting evil, as Nietzsche said, you become the monster you're fighting. So careful of constant warfare against the evil ones, because how did Nietzsche say that? He that fights with monsters eventually becomes like the monster. And when you're staring into the abyss too long, eventually the abyss stares back into you. So be careful of that constant fighting. And take the time to light a candle, shine the light. So what I want to do now is go through the process of the fallout. So we know Corona is a fraud, and we have to figure out what's going to happen next, okay? So some of the stupid local governors might not have any freaking clue as to the reality of it. We know the guys at some of the top levels know it's a fraud. In fact, I think Trump knows it's a fraud, but he had to play along with it because he was captured in the news cycle, and he got outmaneuvered initially, so he just rode the wave because he's a very skillful propagandist himself. There's probably no other president that can do what he does as far as the understanding of human psychology. I think even his enemies will agree that he's a master of psychology. Nobody can beat him. Nobody has been able to beat him yet. So I don't think any other president can handle this level of information warfare that would cause some goofy freaking plague-like thing and then hysteria, and then can get away with it, attacking the system. So we're going to go through this systems diagram here and see what are the possibilities of what's going to happen during the fallout once everybody learns it's a hoax, and how they're going to manage the story, and then who benefits from the hoax, and how we're going to look out for perhaps the perpetrators of the story by their behaviors after the fallout. And of course, Trump being a master psychologist, we all know he's going to manage it very well. That's what he does best, right? You like him or don't like him, it doesn't matter. That's what he does best. He manages the news cycle like a genius, okay? Master magician. That's what he is. Let me get the marker here so we can put some colors here. I guess I'll choose green against purple. I wrote it in purple there. So we have a fake virus story that was started by somebody. Let's say it's unnamed. Let's just call it the source of the virus story. They seeded story delivery vehicles. Vehicle 1, Vehicle 2, Vehicle 3, and so on, okay? And these story delivery vehicles are influencers on both the left and the right, and celebrity authors that I have identified. Some of these guys who have been either manipulated by the stories and made into story delivery vehicles, or they're part of the scam from the source. The whatever cabal got together and did this story. So just recall that initially Trump was very skeptical about the hysteria, and then he just maneuvered really quick within a span of a few days and jumped ahead of the story and join the story. So you can kind of sort of see that little bit of manipulation. He knows how to manage the psychology well, and he probably knew he was outmaneuvered at the beginning of the hysteria. So he jumped it, and he's riding a wave. You can kind of tell that a little bit by his behaviors. Again, you always got to think of him as the master persuader, the master psychologist. What's he doing? Is he outmaneuvering his enemies? Did his enemies win this battle yet? And what's his next step? Because he always has a next step. So you got to always be thinking about that with Trump. But we're not going to be discussing too much Trump here. We're going to analyze how the story got out there. So we have delivery vehicles of the story, which I personally identify. I don't want to name these guys. Influencers right and left. And you'll notice the initial left-wing response was from some of the major media networks. And when Trump said it was hysterical, it was overblown or whatever. Then he maneuvered, I guess, after the story caught traction and people were starting to freak on it. So the coalition built the story, the psychological operations. I mean, this is very well known in propaganda circles, how to manage a population. I mean, we did it during World War II, in France especially. Anyway, you can look that up in the book named Propaganda by Jacques Ellul. Look it up. It's really cool stuff. Okay, so these delivery vehicles, which are influencers both left and right, and celebrity authors, just go to Twitter, you found them really, really quick, produces a news cycle. And when this gets started, it's like a downward spiral or an upward spiral, whatever you want to call it, a tornado, hurricane. Then nobody can stop it. And then that produces mass hysteria. So these guys knew what they were doing when they did all this stuff and the delivery vehicles. This is all planned, which created the news cycle, which even a president like Trump can't stop or get ahead of. So he joined the news cycle. He joined the hysteria. So the hysteria, I mean, come on, what the toilet paper? When a disaster happens, who the hell thinks of going and get toilet paper? That's a bit weird. You typically look for like guns, generators, survival stuff, but toilet paper, it's like, where did that come from? That's just a bit weird. I honestly think that toilet paper is part of a joke played by these guys, and they seeded that story with certain psychological operations to where it's a story that exploded into sub-influencers elsewhere and seeded it, and people... the psychological manipulable people caught on to this, and they're just laughing their asses off with a toilet paper thing. That's really crazy. So the hysteria produces a lawsuit fears from administrators and political leaders, a germ fear from the general population. Oh, germs are everywhere, which is bullshit. It can't stop a virus. Nobody can stop a virus. A virus is going to get out there. It's going to get out there. Can't stop it. And blame fears. So there's lawsuit and blame. So you know how the finger pointing happens in bureaucracy. You ever work for a large company and then bad stuff happens and the finger pointing happens, right? So blame fear, germ fear, lawsuit fear produces draconian fascism, which is part of that is closing down businesses. So we're in the draconian fascism right now. Now, the people who are scared of lawsuits, fears, and maybe mostly blame fear is stupid politicians and administrators. Some of these guys don't have... They have power, but they don't have brains, okay? The IQ level of the general leadership of the West has been going down steadily for the last 100 years. And now it's at the point where most of our leadership really do not know how to execute projects, plans, etc. They don't know how this cause-effect diagram, A causes B, causes C. The shit I'm doing here, they can't even do that, probably. Except for the nerd admins, but they have no power. The nerd admin has no power. So the leaders can't do this. Most of them can't. They're powerful yet incompetent is a way to say it that kind of sort of among the bloggers I read. It's like the major corporations, major government agencies are powerful yet incompetent. So if you're smart enough to outmaneuver them, you can outmaneuver them. Lawyers, listen up. You can outmaneuver those guys. Draconian fascism. So closing businesses down is a draconian fascism. And suddenly everybody discovers the fraud. I mean, some of us in our circles are the first people that noticed it was a fraud. The famous hockey stick in mathematics, everybody knows in the real world you can't have a hockey stick mathematics because there are boundary conditions in the material world where infinities really don't exist in the material world. So mathematical functions containing infinities tend to stabilize after some times in the real world, whereas mathematically with an equation, an infinity can go on forever, right? The infamous false hockey stick. So after the discovery of the fraud, there's going to be a backlash. Yeah, if I can point there. Yeah, there you go, backlash. So there's going to be hell to pay. Somebody's going to pay for this stuff, like hell to pay in the form of blame, lawsuits, firings, demotions, prosecutions, probably. I'm guessing there's going to be prosecutions on this stuff. Definitely lawsuits, probably prosecutions, definitely firings, definitely finger pointings by politicians and administrators and some of the low-level leaders like the governors or whatever. So management of the fallout. So that's what you want to look for. So right now you're seeing us, some of the guys who like me who know how the real world works and how bureaucracies work, how large corporations work. We can kind of sort of see the fraud, and we'll point it out if they're like me and crazy, and we'll point it out. Discovery of the fraud. So you see this building momentum. You know, I noticed it probably starting this morning on Twitter. Some of these influencers that were probably hoodwinked started changing their stories. Say, hey, what happens in 15 days if 1 million people don't die? Oh my God, what are you guys going to do? You predicted 1 million people are going to drop dead. Anyway, so people are figuring out now that they've been hoodwinked. So the fraud's been discovered. You're seeing that build a little bit of momentum, but it's not big enough for a fist punch to knock out the news cycle yet. But it's getting there. Probably the next news cycle is going to be the knockout punch, or maybe a couple of news cycles will be the knockout punch for the discovery of the fraud. And after that, there will be a backlash. And so those who are in power, some of the high-level admins and some of the politicians who actually have some power, most of them don't. Some of them do. Start managing the fallout. Now, you're going to see Donald Trump manage this like a genius. He thinks 10, 20, 30, a million steps ahead. So he's already got this mapped out in his head. He's a natural. He's going to do this very well, and he's going to survive this. You know he will, because he's a master at managing fallout after a bad news cycle. He knows how to do it. Like I said, you can agree with the guy or not. He's skilled. He knows his stuff. Now, some of the stupider politicians and admins, like the governors of certain states, are going to suffer big time backlash from this and lawsuits and probably prosecutions. So they are not as skilled as Mr. Trump at managing the fallout, and they're going to get their asses kicked. So you're going to see a lot of scapegoats on this. And what you want to watch for is who gets scapegoated. Trump might be part of it. Trump might actually use the management of fallout to scapegoat his enemies. Like I said, this is a skillful politician. He's probably going to run with this, identify his enemies, scapegoat the hell out of them if he finds they were part of some of this stuff, and he's probably going to use it. He's a skilled guy. That's what he does. Very Machiavellian, very skilled. He's our modern Napoleon. He just doesn't do anything wrong as far as strategy and tactics. So the stupid politicians and the admins are going to get caught up in the backlash, firings, prosecutions, lawsuits, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They're going to be embroiled in this forever. I mean, there's just no way that some of these guys are going to survive this. Somebody's going to pay. And the public's probably going to be out for blood. So, now, the question we have to ask, cui bono, who benefits? Okay? Now, the initial news story, when the fake virus thing came up, you could kind of sort of see that Trump pushed back a little bit, and then he was smart enough to pull back, put a guy to manage it, and then he jumped on the wave of the hysteria, right? That suggests that it's a party that Trump didn't initiate that started this right here. That's what it seems like. Some sort of party that's not part of Trump's team started this story, and you wonder why they started this story and who they're targeting, why. So whenever the backlash comes out, we might figure out who benefits this story. You can make a couple of guesses. So right now, as people believe the story, you would think, oh yeah, the vaccine manufacturers, the medical people will benefit. But no, after the backlash, who's going to get hit hardest? Probably the medical device manufacturers and the vaccine guys are going to get hit really hard with this backlash. What the hell you guys are trying to do? Manipulate us into getting vaccinated? So that could be the target, the medical guys. Also, the national security state, those who sell so-called security systems or computer systems or airport scanning devices could benefit. The evil and wicked branch of the military-industrial complex that wants more war and more death and more spending so they could not help the USA as a patriot, but help their corporations in milking as much money as possible based on war, destruction, and a mass hysteria. Like what's at the airports nowadays, the security screening is all mass hysteria. It's been like that for 20 years since 9/11. So that's kind of how to think about this, to make sure your head's clear. You get rid of the fear that's in here. Yeah, this is going to pass. And we're going through some weird psychological operation. So they're fucking with your head. They're fucking with everybody's head. But most of all, they're fucking with the heads of some of these guys here. Stupid politicians and admins. So I think this is going to be manipulated to go after some of the stupid politicians and admins. I think Trump's going to use this to go after those guys because that's the deep state, the stupid politicians. Well, not many politicians are deep state, although some of them are connected. But the administration, the bureaucracy, that's the deep state. And the politicians tend to be the face of it, but the stupid ones are going to probably get hit really hard. So CDC is going to get hit hard, really hard, because they are part of the hysteria. Some of the news networks are probably going to get hit pretty hard for the hysteria. Probably these guys right here that were on the initial wave are going to get hit with the hysteria, hit with the backlash. Some of the guys who seeded this story, I think, will get hit with the backlash once that starts coming out, the fallout. Yeah, it's an interesting little story here. If you just keep your head straight and say, okay, what action causes this reaction? Okay, what causes hysteria? How do news cycles happen? How are news cycles seeded by these influencers? And who the hell starts these news cycles, right? They don't come out of nowhere. All right. Fear is the root of all evil. Anything involving fear is false. That's probably the master law of spirituality. Anything that has its basis and its motivations in fear is false. So this is all false. It's all a charade. It's all BS. Think through the chess moves here. But these are the rough layout of the chessboard. And we need to watch out for the chess moves that happen after the backlash. Because right now we're probably at the end of the hysteria. We're still in the middle of a little bit of draconian fascism. And we're at the front end of the discovery of the fraud. This hasn't quite caught momentum, but it's catching speed, the discovery of the fraud. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. This is fun stuff. I love this stuff. I love analysis. So, yeah, send the comments if you got them. And let me know what you're thinking about. It looks like some of these videos here are catching on pretty well. I guess people like current events. I'm not really into current events, but if it's fun enough for me to do analysis and it's a good, interesting current event that we can take apart into pieces and then reassemble it and then predict what might happen in the future, that's pretty cool. So let me know what you're thinking on some of this analytical stuff with related to current events, or if you don't like current events, let me know, because I prefer to speak about making money and conquering the world for my mission, which is setting minds free. I prefer to set minds free. So this is my my part of my mission, setting minds free. Because if you have fear in your heart, and if I can set your mind free from fear, if I can reduce your fear from 100% to 80%, I've succeeded here. But if I can reduce that fear from 100% down to 20%, we're all good. Be safe. Thanks for watching. This is Joe East here. Take care. Till next time.